It is finished. Those were not quiet words. They were not uncertain words. They were not words of defeat. They were spoken with breath that was leaving, but authority that remained. It is finished. Not, I am finished. Not, this is over. But something deeper. Something completed. Something fulfilled. Something paid in full. And yet, if you had been standing there, watching him, hearing those words, it wouldn't have felt like victory. It would have felt like loss. Because the sky had gone dark, the ground had begun to shake, and hope looked like it was hanging on a cross. It is finished, but nothing about that moment felt finished to the people who loved him, because they still had to walk away. They still had to carry grief back into their homes, still had to sit with unanswered questions, still had to face Saturday, that quiet in-between space where nothing seems to move, where heaven is silent, where prayers feel suspended, where you replay everything you thought God was doing and wonder if you got it all wrong. Saturday is where faith gets tested, not in the miracles, not in the crowds, but in the silence. It's where you sit with what looks finished and try to believe God isn't. Because from the outside, the stone was sealed. The story looked closed. The ending looked written. It is finished. And for a moment, it looked like it was. But heaven was not silent in the way they thought. God was not absent. He was working where no one could see. Because what looked like an ending was actually a beginning hidden in the dark. And then, on the third day, everything changed. On the third day, the stone was not rolled away so Jesus could get out. It was rolled away so we could see in. On the third day, death lost its authority. The grave lost its grip. The final word was no longer death. On the third day, what was finished on the cross was revealed in the resurrection. Sin, finished. Shame, finished. Separation, finished. But the story was not over, because it is finished was never the end of the story. It was the end of everything that stood between us and God, and that matters. Not just then, but now. Because we all have places in our lives that feel finished, dreams that ended, prayers that feel unanswered, losses that don't make sense. Moments where we stand in our own version of Friday and whisper, this can't be how it ends. And then we live in Saturday, where nothing changes, where nothing moves, where God feels quiet. But resurrection reminds us Saturday is not the end of the story. Because if God can bring life out of a sealed tomb, he can bring life into places in us that feel sealed too. If he can speak into death, he can speak into our grief, our waiting, our uncertainty. Because the same power that raised him, is not locked in the past. It is present. It is active. It is still moving. It is finished means the work is done. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to fix yourself before you come to Him. And on the third day means the story continues. Hope is not buried. Life is not over. God is not done. So when you find yourself in a place that feels finished, remember, what looks like the end may just be where God begins. Because Friday declared the price was paid. Saturday held the silence. But Sunday declared that death does not win. And because He lives, what feels finished in your life is not the final word. The third day still comes.